everyone, so carrying on talking about invasive plants, and also I'm going to be talking about some poisonous plants as well. So the next one on my list, the biggie. This is probably the one I'm going to talk about now, is the most dangerous plant in the UK. It is an invasive species, like the other ones I've just talked about, but it is extremely toxic, and that is giant hogweed. Now, I actually got rather interested in this plant lately because there's something really creepy about it, and I can't stop looking at pictures of it, like on Google, and I just find it very interesting. But it's not a plant that you want to go near. It's an evil plant. I guess there's something rather a little bit fascinating about evil plants. I don't know, I find them a little bit fascinating, but I would certainly freak out if I saw one growing in my vicinity. This is a plant you seriously do not want anywhere near you. Now, giant hogweed. This is a plant that is very easy to identify, at least when it is fully grown. It can sometimes be a bit more confusing when it's in its early stages, but the clue is in the leaves. The leaves are really, really jagged, and they kind of look a bit like giant rhubarb leaves. They're really, really jagged, but when it is fully grown, it's unmistakable. It's a giant plant, hence the name. It can easily grow in excess of 6 feet. It can sometimes even grow as high as 13 feet, or even higher. It's often described as a flesh-eating triffid. You know, after the book about that science fiction book about cannibalistic plants. So what is hogweed then, or giant hogweed? Well, it's a member of the carrot family, and it looks a bit, if you think of a cow parsley, it looks like a cow parsley that has been magnified hundreds of times. So it really does look like a massive cow parsley. Or to be more exact, a massive hogweed, hence the name, giant hogweed. If you think of the common hogweed, which is native to the UK, the common hogweed is not toxic. That said, you still have to be a bit careful when handling common hogweed because its sap can still be, sometimes can irritate the skin, but not to the same level as giant hogweed, but you might be advised to wear gloves when handling it. But common hogweed is native to the UK, and it's actually edible, common hogweed. Whereas giant hogweed obviously isn't. Giant hogweed looks like a massive common hogweed, magnified. It's an umbellifer, so it has these umbels of white flowers, you know, like a composite, lots of little white flowers in an umbel, like an umbrella. Like really big saucer-shaped umbels, and really thick stems, which have these horrible spikes on them as well. Now, the problem with giant hogweed, it tends to grow, by the way, it tends to grow along river banks and canals. That's its preferred place to grow because the seeds are transported along waterways. So that's how it kind of propagates itself. So you do tend to find it growing often along like canals and towpaths, rivers, ponds, large or lakes, but mainly rivers and canals. It doesn't just grow there, it can grow like other areas as well, but usually you will find water somewhere in the vicinity, so there will often be a river or a canal somewhere in the vicinity near where it grows. The problem with it, and why it's said to be the most dangerous plant in the UK, there are plants in the UK that are more lethal than giant hogweed, such as hemlock, more lethal, but hemlock isn't going to pose it's not a contact poison, hemlock. You're not really advised to touch it or handle it because it can still potentially cause a problem, like rash and that in some people. But it's not dangerous in the way that giant hogweed is. Like if you just were to casually brush past hemlock, it's very unlikely something's going to happen. Like you literally have to ingest it normally for its lethal effects to happen. So although hemlock is the most deadly plant in the UK, the most dangerous is giant hogweed because it's a contact poison. literally, if you were to walk past giant hogweed and, like, say, accidentally touch it, your skin could basically come out in horrific burns. Like, we're talking horrific burns that could potentially even land you in hospital, like that serious. And this is all because it contains, in its sap, it contains an acid. It's basically an acid. It's got a name, and I can't actually remember the name now. I didn't write it down, beginning with F, which I'll struggle to pronounce. But it is an acid, and it basically it prevents your skin from being able to protect itself from UV rays. It destroys the natural barrier on the skin. That protects your skin from UV rays. So, if you're exposed to the sap of this plant, and then you expose that area to sunlight, it's a combination of the acid in the sap, your skin plus sunlight. So say you're out on a sunny day and you accidentally brush against giant hogweed. It could be any part of the plant, leaves, stem, flower head, any part of the plant. You won't know about it straight away, but sometimes within as little as 15 minutes, but often not until the day afterwards, you will develop really painful sores and blisters as a result. And this is called phytotoxicity, and this can actually recur years afterwards. So that area of skin that's been exposed can stay sensitive for years afterwards. So every time that area of skin is exposed to the sun, you could end up with these awful blisters, which are really nasty. And yeah, it's really not a plant you want to touch at all or go anywhere near, really. And as I say, it's quite an unmistakable plant. What it looks like. It has very large stems that are covered in tiny white hairs, and each branch tends to have a patch of purple where it meets the stem. The stem itself, the whole stem, is mottled with purple. It covers these purple like splotches, almost like it's got a rash on it. So it actually originally came from southern Russia and Georgia, and that's where it originally came from. The leaves, as I said, are very, very large and sharply divided. It's in the carrot family, the umbellifer family. As I said. So if you were to accidentally touch it, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to immediately cover the area, make sure it does not come into contact with sunlight. That's key. As long as you don't expose it to the sun, nothing's going to happen. It has to have sunlight for the reaction to happen. So you have to immediately cover it up. You have to go and wash it in cool water and plenty of soap. Thoroughly wash that sap off. You then have to stay out of the sun for at least 48 hours and seek medical attention. Because if it does develop into a rash or blister, then they can prescribe steroid creams and stuff. In very severe cases, because it can potentially cause third-degree burns in very severe cases, then the person might actually need to have new skin grafted. Obviously, it depends on how much sap got on the skin, the amount of exposure, how much it was exposed to the sun. All those variables can influence how severe the reaction is. This plant is particularly dangerous for children who have historically got into trouble when they use its stems as pea shooters. And also dogs as well, like dogs have been known to die from this plant. It can look like acid's been thrown on you, it's really horrible. So, the most dangerous plant in the UK, giant hogweed, they are trying to eliminate it, they are trying to get rid of it, but it's really hard to get rid of. That's the problem. It's not a plant that you... Basically, the people, when they get rid of it, they have to wear like full protective suits, full protective suits and masks, because if the sap gets in your eyes, it can actually make you blind as well. Absolutely nasty. So that's giant hogweed, invasive and dangerous. I'm probably going to have to stop here actually, because otherwise the video is going to cut out on me. There are some other plants that can also be a little bit dangerous, not to the same extent as giant hogweed. Wild parsnip can also